Hello, this is Bingham with the Eastern Shawnee Tribes Native Connections Program. We're here again today with Brandon, and Brandon's got a topic that he finds very fascinating and helps a lot of people. So Brandon, can you tell us what we're going to talk about today?
So Ben, I think one of the things that we see most in our counseling office is relationships. And relationships is a dichotomy of not just family and friends, workmate, it's about our community. And relationships are one of the 7 factors that create stress in our culture. So if we can start to understand relationships on a different level, it helps us navigate those into a better position in our life.
Well, I think a lot of people are probably thinking, and the easiest question is, could you define what a relationship is for us?
Well, that's a great question. And relationships really are defined by understanding life. So Ben, let me say this. Life is best described as a series of relationships that culminate into days, weeks, months, and years of your life. Now, when you start to talk about relationships and how they culminate into days, weeks, months, and years of your life, it's an encompassment of understanding that when we go to the convenience store, that's a relationship we have with the clerk behind the counter. And you say, well, now that's a brief and short, but you go in there enough, they start to recognize you and remember you. It can be with family, it can be with friends, it can be with workmates, community, neighbors. And some are short, some are long, some have lots of hair, some have not very little hair, right? Some may smell good and some may smell bad. But those are all relationships.
Do you think you could explain it a little more for everyone? I'd like to know more about a relationship.
So when we talk about relationships, we have to understand that what goes into making a relationship are deposits and withdrawals. Now, when we talk about deposits and withdrawals, it's about what goes in and what comes out. Think of a banking metaphor. You know, you go to the bank, you put money in, the more you put in, the more the bank likes you. You take money out, they're okay as long as you don't take out more than what you've put in. Relationships are the same way in our life. And we can start to break down the failure of relationships with every single person on this planet, Ben. And there are over 7.8 billion people on planet Earth. And all of us look at relationships from the standpoint of what's coming in and going out. We just don't mentally think about it that way. So when people come in and they start to talk about relationships and that they're struggling with somebody, I automatically know they've got more coming out than what's going in. And so now we know there's a deficiency on that.
So Brandon, what happens when we make more withdrawals than we do a deposit in a relationship?
Well, that's a great question, Ben. So what happens when we make more withdrawals than deposits is that puts our relationships into what we call an unbalanced account. Now that's what I call it if you're coming in for a counseling session and we start to work through that, I classify that as an unbalanced account. What that really means is we've got more coming out than what's going in. When that happens, that puts us in a deficiency of there's only one of 2 things that can happen. One, we can set limits and boundaries. And this is where everyone starts. And what we do is we look and we say limits are about us, boundaries are about them. And we say, well, I'll do this and they can do that, but I'm not going to do that if they do. And we start to draw lines in the sand. As we're drawing those lines in the sand, and that can go on for weeks, months, days. But at some point, when that gets to a point where you go, that's not working, that's when we have what I call cut it off. That's where breakups happen, divorce happens. That's where friendships become null and void and they don't last anymore.
That's very fascinating material, Brandon. I really appreciate you talking this a little bit more. I'm sure eventually some of our friends out there may have some more questions that they can send to us via the tribal website or our Facebook page, or email me at bbingham@estoo.net. And hopefully we hear from them and maybe they'll have some more questions that we can help answer. So thank you all for listening and have a good day. Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.